like I was already doing like 5 to 10K per month profit. By like senior year, actually, I was making a lot more than that. But like even like junior year, like I was making more than the teachers.
All right, today on the Miami Hustle, we are here with Joe McCarthy. Thank you for pulling up. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
He is a branding expert and social media coach. So for all of you that are into the social media game, you already know this is your guy. For those that don't know, where are you from?
Originally from Virginia, but recently moved down here to Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Nice. Shout out to Fort Lauderdale. And also for the people that don't know, how old are you?
22.
22 years young.
Yep.
That's what's up. So we already know you have a crazy story, so I want to just get right into it. First of all, what got you into social media, branding, and all of that at such a young age?
It's kind of a funny story. So I grew up originally, like I said, I was from Virginia, so I grew up on a small farm, and so I was raising like chickens and turkeys and ducks and pigs, and so I had all this product, but I wasn't able to sell it. So like I had freezers full of chicken and eggs, or fridges full of like eggs, and I saw other farmers using Facebook and Instagram to basically post content, sell their product. So I guess like technically I got into social media marketing at age like 12.
Wow.
Because I built my own like small social media like farm following just of local people, and I just instantly started selling out of my products. So it kind of clicked in my mind like, okay, I guess you can use social media not just to like post content or waste time, but like to methodically get business. So that's what I kind of did to kind of get into it, and then slowly started to get that like entrepreneur itch in school, which we can talk about, and started reading up on a ton of books. And that's when the @Real Joe McCarthy brand kind of, I gave birth to that, and then grew that to 500,000 almost on Instagram, and obviously the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Shout out to all your success. And so how did you get into, was it a family-owned farm? Like, how'd you get into farming?
Well, so we started out with just like a batch of like 10 little baby chicks. And so we actually just grew them we originally just wanted like eggs for the family, because I grew up in a family of 12, believe it or not.
A family of 12?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Or actually, no. Do I have 11 siblings? I don't even know.
That's crazy.
I got a lot of siblings. So like we just wanted eggs for like the family, but like we didn't realize like, okay, chickens lay eggs every single day. So if you have 10 chickens, you're getting 10 eggs every day. So like we weren't keeping up. So my mom just started like giving away eggs when I was little, like to my grandparents or friends. And I was like, why don't we like sell them for a couple bucks,
They lay eggs every day? I didn't know that.
Yeah. In winter times, it kind of slows down, but yeah, at least six days per week.
So your story is very similar to Gary Vee, I would say, because for the ones that don't know, Gary Vee, his parents owned a wine brand, a wine company, and it was successful, but it wasn't at the level that he wanted it to be or they wanted it to be. So he started introducing social media into the wine brand and basically blew it up that way through online sales. So that's pretty much what you did, but with farms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool, that's amazing. So while you were in high school, were you already making money because of the farm and because of social media?
Yeah, a little bit. So like, I basically created this like farm business. So like I would, especially during the summer months, I would raise a ton of chickens, sell the eggs. So like I was making like a couple thousand per month, which at the time for like a 15-year-old kid, it was like good money, because I didn't have expenses. So that's definitely like where I started the entrepreneurship thing. And I even took it to like the next level with like, I bought like a box of like 1,000 Airheads on Amazon and sold all those to my classmates at school and made like $900 pretty easily. So I've always been one to like sell and,
Same, that's the original hustler right there in high school selling candies. I used to do that too. In middle school, I bought the world's finest chocolates.
Oh, that's funny.
I bought like $500 worth of chocolates. My parents thought I was crazy, but I knew they were going to sell because we had sold them in elementary school. So I knew they sold. So I did the same thing for myself in middle school.
It's a good little hustle.
That's the hustlers 101 right there. Selling things, don't sell drugs, sell chickens.
Chickens are candy.
Sell eggs, especially out here in Little Havana. You see a lot of those chickens. So yeah, I mean, you never know where you can make money or where opportunity lies.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like. So did you ever like have a mentor going into this, or you were just brainstorming and just finding stuff out on your own?
I mean, I was mainly just brainstorming. I mean, my dad is very like entrepreneurial. Like he was the one that kind of put the idea in my head, like, okay, maybe make a business out of this farm. So I definitely think that he kind of pushed me to go out there and stay consistent, never give up, you know, try to make some money off of this. So I'd say he was like my biggest mentor. He still, you know, is. But actually, one funny thing is, I don't know if you know, do you know Ty Lopez?
Yeah.
So Ty Lopez, for instance, it's a crazy connection, but so Joel Salatin is this farmer up in Virginia. And so he does a lot of like sustainable farming, like pasture raised, like they're, you know, raised sustainably on like the pasture in the fields and all like grass fed, whatnot. So Joel Salatin, this old farmer, was like the pioneer, like the godfather of this type of like regenerative agriculture. And what's funny is Ty Lopez was Joel Salatin's first apprentice. So when Ty Lopez was like 19 years old, he came on Joel Salatin's farm and basically worked for free for an entire year.
Wow.
And like slept in a shed and like worked his farm. So like if you listen to anything like Ty talks about, or like you check out his like 67 steps program, like he is always talking about his first mentor, Joel Salatin. So like I knew Joel Salatin personally. And so what's funny is like I was listening to Joel Salatin because he was also kind of a mentor of mine in the farming space. And he was talking about how like he like randomly drove in a Lamborghini with his mentee, Ty Lopez. So I was like, who the hell is this Ty Lopez guy? And so that's when I kind of looked him up. And then this kind of got me down the rabbit hole of like reading books and just like studying entrepreneurship, Napoleon Hill, Grant Cardone, like Robert Kiyosaki. Because Ty Lopez is very big into like, if you want to be successful, read books. Like you remember like Here in My Garage, that video that went mega viral? He was standing in front of his bookcase basically saying to read. So that's kind of, I guess, how it kind of segued into from farming into like reading, business, entrepreneurship, self-development, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, same. I heard of Ty Lopez through reading. I actually read one of his books that got me to understand who he is and his story, and then I started seeing that he posts a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know of him until I read his book.
Yeah, he was like the biggest, he was like the godfather of like social, he was like the original social media branding, marketing expert.
Yeah, so tell me about, let's go to senior year. You graduate.
Yeah.
And it's time to go to college. Like, where were you at that point?
So I already knew like literally ninth grade, like I was like 14, 15 years old. I was like, I'm not going to college. I already like put my foot down. Like my teachers knew it, my parents knew it, but I was getting a lot of shit for it. Cause like I went to this like prep school that basically like prepped you to go to college. Like it was unheard of almost for like a kid to graduate and not go to college. So every one of my classmates, like they were getting into these bigger colleges and like they were, you know, applying for all the universities, doing all the, you know, writing down their thesis and whatnot. And I'm like, I have zero interest in any of that because like at the time I got into high ticket sales. Like, I don't know if you know Dre Medici, but he's also out here in Miami. He runs Grow, this agency. So I basically partnered with him, became one of the top sales guys really early on, like literally in high school. So like I was telling you before this, like I was
a top sales guy in high school?
Yeah. And that was in high school. So like I had like maybe 3 hours to like hop on calls and close deals because 8 hours of my day was wasted at school. Yeah. So that's why I was saying I would go to the bathrooms and like sneak and like, you know, close deals on my phone in the bathrooms like during lunch because like phones were not allowed. So like that's when I kind of really got into building this business and making money. And so like I was already doing like 5 to 10K per month profit. By like senior year, actually, I was making a lot more than that. But like even like junior year, like I was making more than the teachers. So I was like, I'm just going to go into business. I'm going to go full force into growing my brand and maybe launching my company, which, you know, fast forward till today, I have that now. So I was like, there's really no use for me to go and like get a degree. And I just see college as kind of like it's almost like an excuse to like almost delay your maturity. Like I know that you can obviously get like social benefits and like get the experience, but I didn't really want to be like around those kids or like I already hated high school. So like the thought of going into 4 more years of like school and tests and exams, I was like, screw that, like move out. I already knew that I was just gonna skip it.
I mean, you've been ahead of the game. If you're closing deals at school, in high school, and you're making that much in high school, like your mentality is completely different than the people around you.
Exactly.
So I feel like you were kind of an outcast, right? Like, how did you get along with people in school when you weren't even at their level?
I didn't really have any friends, so like that's one thing. I think that's why I actually built my brand, is because I just wanted to like be seen and build this massive page and all this stuff. But in high school, like I didn't really get along with too many people. Like you might have like little conversations and like buddies, but like I really didn't have like friends. And like people would, pick on me and be like, oh, you're a scammer. Oh, you're like hiring people from the Philippines and scamming them and blah, blah, blah. And like, they just don't get it. They don't understand it. So,
I mean, that's how Nike's born. So
yeah, no, dude. So they didn't really understand it. Just wasn't on their, I don't know, radar to like be an entrepreneur. All they were taught is go to school, get a job, save, whatever, get your 401k. And I was just like, there's another path. And I knew that from an early age. And that's what I wanted to chase.
So now when you graduate high school, what did you do different with all this time in your hands? Like, is that when you started to really develop your own personal brand?
Mm-hmm.
Aside from what were you doing? The farming, and then you were also closing sales with someone else, like another company?
Yeah.
And then you got into your own thing?
Mm-hmm.
So walk me through starting your own brand and building that.
Yeah, so me graduating gave me a ton of time. And actually, I was like a senior in high school during COVID. So the cool thing is even though I was like technically still in school, it made it a lot easier for me because I was still able to be at home. We hopped on like a quick, couple of Zoom classes or whatever. It was a lot easier to like get deals closed and all that stuff when you're like at home, on the Zoom, whatever, at school. So that year is when it really started to pop off, because obviously everybody was using their phones, they were online. So I just found it really easy to start to post content, build my brand. So it gave me a lot more time to like dedicate towards building my page and like figuring out also like who I am, like what are my beliefs and values, and like kind of like what sets me apart from like every other guru, in the online world. So it just gave me a lot of time to like do some deep work on who's my target audience and who am I trying to help, and like who am I, like how do I find my own voice. So that's what I did, like full force. Just went straight into my brand, scaled that up, it blew up, and then obviously people started asking me like, hey, can you coach me on how to like post content and be like how to get leads and create my product? And that's when it slowly morphed into building my Accelerator, which is like the main thing that I promote right now.
The Accelerator?
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But before we get into that, for the ones that don't know, like what would you say is your brand? Like what do you represent, or who is Joe McCarthy?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I help a lot of people that, like, to be honest with you, was me 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I may be young, but, even me back in high school, like, had I had all this knowledge and, like, this blueprint to follow, where it's like, I don't care about people's opinions. I know exactly what to be posting. I know how to create a process, like, for my content to stay consistent. I know how to, like, reach more people and get leads. So I just am basically this person to help you guys build your personal brands. If you're looking to build like an online persona, you want to launch a product, you want to make money online, I am basically that guy to help you from step by step, like from having an idea in your head to actually bringing that into fruition with an online offer, big personal brand, clarity on your messaging, clarity on your target, and making multiple six figures online.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like nowadays people online, they just try to go viral to get attention. Yeah. But I feel like you're breaking it down in a more structured, organized way of building longevity instead of just trying to go viral to sell something.
Yeah.
So break that down for us. I don't want you to tell us too much because I'm sure, there's a price for your knowledge. But just break it down a little bit to someone that maybe just started their own personal brand and wants to start building on social media, that may think going viral is the way to go. Like, tell us a little bit about your knowledge on the game and how what it really takes to build a brand.
I mean, what it really takes is consistency, but even on a deeper level is like knowing not only who you are, but like who you're trying to help. Because I feel like a lot of people, they don't do like that foundational work to really figure out like who's their target market, what do they struggle with, what are their pain points, what's like the ideal outcome they're looking for, and then how do you solve for that. A lot of people, they just see these other coaches or online gurus and they're trying to just see what works and just copycat and post like generic content. So that's why I see a lot of people, it's like they're trying to build their brands, but they don't even know, like they haven't done the basic work to figure out, you know, like why am I posting? Who am I posting for? Like what's my unique spin on this? Because a lot of people just like regurgitate others' content, and you're not going to grow that way. And then the people you're copycatting, they also don't appreciate it. So I would say like the first thing is just get crystal clear on like who your target market is, what they need help with, what you can help them with, like what is your, I guess, mechanism or process to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And then how do you take that and like package it up into like reels, into your content, and how do you speak to them in a way that actually produces results and like gets them to want to work with you on like a product.
And what about the growing pains within this process? Because I'm sure it's not all like easy or pretty, you know?
No,
especially starting from scratch, building a personal brand takes a lot of consistency, like you said, a lot of efforts, and a lot of times you don't see much until you finally get that breakthrough.
Yeah. I've spent like 7 years building my personal brand, and I don't think I've missed a beat. Like I've posted every single week for the past 7 years, like consistently. I think people assume that like, you know, I mean, being in Miami and seeing all these big ballers making $100K a month and living in penthouses at like 19 or whatever, it's like it doesn't help the fact that your feed is flooded with like quick success, easy money, easy brands. Like that's just not the reality. Like 9 times out of 10, you know, you're gonna have to put in probably quadruple the amount of work, and it's probably gonna take 3 times as long as you think for you to actually start to break through. Which is why, again, going back to the foundations, you need to figure out like, why do you even want to build this brand in the first place? Because if you're not grounded in like a really deep, like a deep purpose for like why you want to do this, then it's like you're just going to post content because everyone's telling you to post it. But then, you know, as soon as you go 2 months and you're not seeing very much results, it's like, well, what's the point? Then you just throw in the towel, or you take a month off, and you're basically back to square one. So consistency is it's vital.
How would you get past the growing pains? What would you tell people?
I think you need to get crystal clear on your why. Like there's this exercise called the 7 levels of why. And you basically ask yourself, like, why do I want to build a personal brand? And you just go and ask yourself why. Around 7 times is where you get to like the actual answer. So like maybe you say like, I want to build my personal, or like, why do you want to build a personal brand? I want to build it to help more people. Well, why do you want to help more people? Because at the time that I was building my brand, I didn't have help. So I wanted to become that person. It's like, well, why do you want to become that person? And then somehow what I did is, and this kind of goes like deeper, but I figured out that just I wanted to be seen or be known, or I wanted to like just chase my potential. So like a lot of you guys that want to build brands, like you might just find that you're super motivated, you want to help people, you want to make the world a better place, and social media is a very good tool to do that if you use it correctly. So I just, ran with that. And a lot of people, they're very surface level with their brand. So they're like, I want to post content to help people, but it's like, okay, it's like you can help people all you want for months and months and months, but if you're not bringing a return, or you're not actually growing, or, again, if you're getting kind of burnt out, like the reason for that is because you don't have a deeper grounded purpose or reason for building the brand. So that's what got me through.
When it comes to building a brand, especially like a personal brand, starting from scratch, at what point do you think it's necessary to start trying to make that, like monetize that? Because I know at first in every entrepreneur story or every business, they start off with, you got to invest a lot of time and energy first before you see the return. So at what point would you say you should start trying to monetize?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it depends on what you mean by monetize. Like when I hear the word monetize, I think creating an offer, launching that offer online, and then getting clients online, making money. So I didn't even start my own offer until 5 years into me building a brand. I already had like 300K on my page. I already posted 300 plus pieces of content.
300K?
300,000.
Without any, wow.
Yeah.
That's grinding.
I mean, I'd sell like little like consulting calls here and there, but like me actually making some big money from that, it's like, I just waited because I was all about providing just an insane amount of value. And the more value that you can provide initially on your page, the more that you're going to be positioned as an authority in your space. So I would say like rule of thumb, like wait until at least a couple people reach out to you and say like, yo, do you have like packages? So like it wasn't even on my radar to like create an offer until a couple people reached out and they were like, hey, can I just pay you for like a quick 1 hour call, or can I pay you to, teach me like step by step how to do X, Y, and Z?
That's a blessing.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what kind of clicked in my mind, like, okay, well, people want this now. So that's kind of positive confirmation that, okay, I can go out and build a product. Because a lot of people, they'll just build a product way too early, and they don't have that confirmation that, number one, it's going to work, and number two, that people actually want it. So they end up building this program, they put a lot of time and effort into it, and then crickets, like nobody signs up. So
how often do you have to pivot?
What do you mean by that?
When it comes to building like your own brand and just going through the motions, like how often, or at least someone like you, how often did you have to pivot on the ways that you were structuring things and making things work?
I mean, really with the content, like there's a little bit of pivoting. So like I've stopped doing a lot more of those like white quote posts that I used to post. Like if you scroll down, you'll see I do have like an evolution of my content. Like there's a way that people used to create their content with the thumbnails, with the videos, and like having the header on their reels back in like 2020 or 2022. So like there's just like little nuances that I've changed, but as far as like the messaging and like the actual content itself, it's pretty like rock solid. Like I've been super clear on my message. I've been super clear on the value I provide and how often I post. So really the only thing I've pivoted is maybe just a little bit of like the ways I've packaged up the content, because the content itself is generally the same. It's just maybe packaged a little different. Like now my reels are a lot shorter because people's attention spans just constantly get worse and worse. So I might make sure that the hook, the value, the call to action is like super concise, it's super on point. So just doing like little nuances like that is like really the only ways I had to pivot for the most part.
So with all the free time that you found yourself having after high school, what did you start doing like different?
Started doing a lot more self-development work, because like the stuff in high school, like it took me probably 2 years of me like being on social media and posting before I actually put out a video. Like a lot of it was like quotes or like carousels or whatever, and stuff that I created like in Canva, but it never was me like speaking in front of camera. So like I started hiring coaches. Like I think my first coach I hired at like 16 or 17. Until this day, like I've spent over $110,000 into like coaches and mentors and courses and seminars and all this kind of stuff. So I just started hiring coaches, doing myself like deep work on myself and figuring out, again, like who am I, what do I stand for? Even like some stories that I had in my head. Like I think I had a lot of stories that didn't serve me, thinking like, okay, because I'm so young, people are not going to pay for my knowledge. So like that was a story I had. It's like, I'm too young to do this. I'm too young to charge this. I'm too young to create this. So I had to like really kind of address those stories and like kind of shift them to different stories that did actually serve my journey and my purpose. So just doing a lot of deep work like that, and then focusing a lot more on the content and the messaging there too.
You said you had a coach at 16, like a speaking coach, or like a...
I would call him more of like a life coach. Like he really helped me with like the self-development.
How did you get into that? I feel like anyone that has the opportunity to have someone like that would be amazing. So, but I also feel like we don't speak about that enough.
Oh yeah.
So where did you even learn about someone like that, and how did you get into that?
Well, so like at that time, I think if I was 16 or 17, I probably had like maybe 80K on my page, like Instagram. So like I was also like DMing people every single day, making connections. So I already had like a decent network of people. And so I kind of knew that there was like coaches out there, and I knew that in order to, like I was a big believer in investing into myself. So I think the very first thing I invested into is Tai Lopez's like SMMA program back then. And my dad was like, don't do that, it's probably a scam. I went for it anyways. I paid like $500 or whatever. I learned a ton of stuff in there. So that kind of collapsed my learning curve, and I just followed what they were saying, and it worked. So that's when I kind of realized like, okay, investing into mentors, investing into myself, it works. And I knew that I kind of knew, like I'm a very self-aware person. So I knew that I call it like head trash. I knew I had a lot of head trash that I was just like, it was basically causing lack of growth in my life and with my brand. So this guy's name is Billy, and he like hit me. I think he hit me up originally because he saw my content. He was like, dude, this stuff is super solid. Like, how come you haven't put out any videos yet? And so I basically told him, like, I don't know, I'm just, I feel like people won't like it, or, they won't want to listen to me, or I'm too young, or, what if they think this, what if they think that? And so he was like, let's get on a quick call. So he basically gave me like a free coaching session right there. And I was like, dude,
Nice.
just like open my eyes. And so I invested. I have no idea how much I invested at the time. But I just gave him a couple $1,000s or something like that. And we just ran with, I don't know, 10 Zoom calls or something. And that completely transformed my mindset.
Well, shout out to Billy.
Yeah.
Shout out Billy.
Shout out to Billy.
And shout out to you for investing in yourself, because that's something that, even like your dad said, I'm sure most people will think that it's a scam, or will be very hesitant to spend money on themselves, but they won't be hesitant to spend money on material things, like
or $200K on a degree. It's like, that doesn't guarantee a job,
That's a whole nother conversation, and I'm sure some people will disagree, but I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm very all about opportunities, and it's who you know, not necessarily what you know. And getting a degree can be a great investment if you know exactly what you want to do. But if you're not sure what you want to do, I think it's always good to take at least a year off and meet people, see what they're doing, see how they're doing it, and like you said, self-development. Learn more about yourself before you invest on something that you might not.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, that you might not even use realistically. So
yeah.
So tell me about what got you down here to South Florida from, you said Pennsylvania?
Virginia. So like right below Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So like I said, I was very motivated, and I was a big entrepreneur at the time in Virginia. So like I always had an itch. We traveled down here, me and my wife, like we would travel down here all the time because I have buddies down here. So like I'm in the social media space. So it's like a lot of these gurus and social media marketing agencies, like this is like the hub, you know what I mean? So I already knew a ton of people down here, and I found myself coming down here like 2, 3, 4, or 5 times just for vacation or to network or to go to events. And I was like this spot's actually pretty dope. Like it'd be cool to, live here. And so luckily my wife was on board, and I moved out of my parents' house at 18, like literally as soon as I graduated high school, moved out. I got like a little apartment in like the city in Winchester, Virginia, where I was from. And then like fast forward a year or two, got married, and then moved down here to Florida just to be around the circle. Like I've said this on other podcasts, I felt like in Virginia I was more of like a big fish in a little pond because people are not that motivated. It's kind of just like, you do your thing, work a regular job, and it's a lot more slow paced, which I think in a period of my life I'll like the slow pace. Like if I have like more kids and like let's say I have a big family, it'd be cool to have like a farm, land, just chill out, maybe come down here, run some podcasts, but just have like that stable, slow life. But for the season that I'm in right now, it's like it's cool to be able to like be with you guys and like network with high level people, build the brand, build the following, build the business. It's like this I feel like fosters, like this environment fosters growth, which is kind of what drew me down here.
That's the Miami hustle. That's what we're about. We're honestly blessed to be able to live in this city because, like you said, it's a city where a lot of people want to take vacations, but it's also a city that people come to network. And you never know who you're going to meet out here. There's a lot of very motivated people that are always making moves, and a lot of people to meet and opportunities out here. So shout out to Miami. You know we love Miami. And I heard you say that you're married, so you got married at a young age.
Yep.
Shout out to you. Congrats to that, because I'm sure that keeps you on point and away from all the crazy distractions that a city like Miami could have.
Big time.
So that's nice. Very nice to have, because again, like when you move from Virginia to down here, a lot of things, a lot of distractions,
a lot of drama too.
So.
Like I even have buddies down here. Like I said, like a lot of people that I used to work with, or even just like buddies of mine. It's like when I'm around them, it's like I feel like that's always on their mind, chasing women and just like looking at chicks, and it's like they don't realize how much of a distraction it can become. And then when you get a woman, it's like if it's the wrong one, then that can screw up everything. That can screw up your business, your mental health. So I'm glad that I just got that in check early and don't even have to think about it. She's a big blessing.
I couldn't agree with you more, 100%. If you're with the wrong one, you're wasting a lot of time, energy, and money.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's a fact. But yeah, man, so let's talk about what you said you have going on now. You said you want to focus more on the the accelerated
Yeah.
program.
Yep.
How does that work? What exactly is that?
It's basically like a 12-week program. So I call it my Bulletproof Branding Accelerator. So essentially it's like a 12-week program. It's like super in-depth, like one-on-one calls with myself. It's got modules, like 6 hours worth of content that I've basically like taken from the past 7 years and $100,000, basically condensed it into this one program. So they can just go through the modules, hop on the calls with me. I essentially just help people do what I've done. I help people build out and refine their offer, make sure they're charging what they're worth, make sure that like they have their client success in mind, their revenue goals in mind, make sure that like, we go over like the price points, the deliverables. Do you want it to be group, one-on-one? Like there's a lot that goes into structuring an offer. So that's the first thing. Then I help people optimize their page, just make sure it's on point, highlights, bio, profile pic, content. And then we dive into like the messaging, making sure that they're actually speaking like to a super solid audience, making sure they're packaging their content correctly, so that they can be positioned as an authority in their space. And then once they have an offer and their brand in check, then what we can do is move on to like lead generation. So like I'm a huge proponent of just organic DM outreach. Like a lot of people shit on that and they're like, oh, do paid ads. But like I literally just started doing paid ads probably 4 or 5 months ago. Like up until now, I've built like I made millions of dollars in sales literally just like off of DM outreach, like messaging people, networking, hopping on calls, booking calls. So I show them like how to start. Like I would recommend going the organic route first, making sure you have like an organic lead generation system dialed in first before they move into paid ads. So I show them how to structure out their content in a way that gets them leads and structure out like a lead generation system with outreach to get them leads as well. And then the last thing I do in my program is what I call scale. So that's basically like, once we have the product, the page, we're doing the outreach, now what we can focus on is like creating systems and processes with content creation. So you can get out like a good chunk of content within like an hour or two on the weekend, and how to like structure that out so you can stay super consistent with that. And then just delegating, simple tasks like comments, responses, outreach, stuff like that. So you can obviously focus on like the big picture. You don't have to be like as much in the business versus working on the business. So that's like the whole overview. Is basically taking people from like the very beginning, or if you're already crushing 10K per month and you just want to reach like 50, I'd help you structure all that stuff out in order to hit that online, basically.
I mean, that's like what, 3 months? Mm-hmm. 3 months of work?
Yeah.
Sounds like pretty much less than a semester of college, university. So if you want to take the year off, you don't know what you want to do, you should probably hit up Joe.
Yeah.
See what's up with this course. It's 3 months. I mean, you're already going to be studying in school anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
You might as well get some knowledge. Like you said, he basically condensed all of his knowledge into these 3 months. So I think that would be a great investment.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone that's maybe either in high school or maybe just finished college and maybe still doesn't know what they want to do going into the social media game?
Yeah.
Aside from posting consistently?
I mean, the biggest thing is just figure out what you want. Like figure out like what you're passionate about. If you don't know what you're passionate about, like I would say just test, like go do different things. Like I'm a big proponent of high ticket sales. Like that's what got me really started on like this money craze, like hit bigger goals and reach, bigger heights. So I think try high ticket sales. If you like it, keep going with it.
What do you mean by high ticket sales?
So there's a lot of businesses out there, like me, for instance, like eventually I'm going to scale to a point where maybe I'm booking 200 plus calls a month. I'm obviously not going to be able to take that myself all. So like what I do is I hire out a closer. So like if you can learn high ticket sales, you can do that literally for free. You can join a team like I did with my partner Dre, and then basically what I'll do is he books my calendar. I hopped on those calls when I was in high school, and then I close on like a $2,000, $5,000, even $10,000, $20,000 package, and I get paid a commission. So it's like I don't have to do the fulfillment, I don't have to do the lead gen. I just hop on the calls, close the deals. So especially for like high ticket or for like beginners or people in high school or just coming out of high school, high ticket sales is like the easiest way to make a good quick little bag and learn a valuable skill, which is sales, which that'll carry you into like everything with business, relationships, like literally everything. So that's how I got started. That's how I recommend people get started. But even on a deeper level, like you could know what you want to do and know what you're passionate about. But if your mindset's not in check and like you really like care about other people's opinions, which is something I struggled with, you may never start. You know, like it took me years to actually put out my first video and post content. So I see a lot of, especially young kids, they just care about the whole world. They care about what people think about them, their parents, students, friends. It's like, and that hinders them and stops them from like ever even getting started in the first place. So like the biggest lesson I give anybody, and I've said this on multiple podcasts because it's super important, is like people are literally going to judge you no matter what you do. You could be super successful. People are going to say you're greedy. They're going to say you're a scam. You could be super lazy and work a 9 to 5, and like people might say like you're lazy and you just, you know, you're a loser. You could be really ripped. People are probably going to say you're juiced up and you're on steroids. You could be fat, and again, people are going to say you're lazy. So like no matter what, you're going to get hate, basically. So just follow your passion, do what you're meant to do, you know, hit your goals, reach your potential, because hate's going to come no matter what. But as long as you can keep on going, like, you know, it's not going to matter at the end of the day.
How do you deal with the haters?
I don't get a lot of haters these days, but especially like early on, I think I did a lot of deep work on myself that like I just didn't really care. And I also heard this quote once that like people that judge you, or like you thinking like, okay, what are they gonna think? It's usually, there's no like they. Like we assume that there's like a whole world of people that are just looking all at our content, and like we just assume that people are just eyeballing it, but people are really not paying that close attention to your content. And usually you want to define who they is, because usually if you're about to post something and you're like, oh, what are they going to think about this? Are people going to think it's cringy? Usually you only have like 1 or 2 people in the back of your mind that you're like, oh, what's my mom going to think of this? What's my friend from high school going to think of this? Like usually 2 or 3 people. So I just had to realize like am I really going to let like 3 or 4 random people, especially if they were like from like the past or school or whatever, like am I really going to let those people stop me from posting content, hitting my goals? And then I also just studied, and I realized like nobody hates down. Like people at the top who's, you know, a millionaire, they're not going to hate on you for trying to become a millionaire. But people at the bottom, you know, they're going to look up at you and they're going to kind of see you and be like, okay, I'm kind of intimidated. Like this is what happened in high school. Like I was reaching these goals, and so people would try to kind of tear me down to get me back on their level, right?
Yeah.
Because they're always trying to like justify why they didn't try to chase their dreams like I did. So they're like, oh, you're stupid, you're a scam, you know, you're wasting your time, you're never gonna be successful, blah, blah, blah.
They're just wasting their energy when they should have bought a course. And like put that energy into something that's beneficial.
Yeah, big time.
And then they'd understand how hating is just a waste of time and energy.
Exactly.
So what do you got going on next? You're here, you've been out here for, you said like 9 months.
Yep.
Welcome to Miami, welcome to South Florida. Shout out Fort Lauderdale. You already know that's our neighbor. So what do you got going next now that you're settled in?
Yeah, so we'll be here for a few years at least, and so I'm thinking, you know, run on more podcasts, meet people like you, and try to like squeeze the orange, you know, of life and meet as many people as possible and network. Obviously, I'm trying to build this business up quite a bit, so goal for this month or for this year would be like, you know, try to reach at least 100K profit per month. Like that would be like the goal. If I can hit that, you know, whether it's like soon or later down this year, it's like if we can hit that and just consistently be hitting 6 figures per month, then, you know, I'm a happy camper. So
I just want to say, if a 22-year-old is telling you that his goal is to make 100,000 in profit each month, you got to check your goals. Like, that's what you got to be on. And if you don't know how to make 100K each month, then you got to start learning. You got to start calling people, talking to people, buy a course, see how to make it happen, because we really are, especially in Miami, we're in a city full of opportunity.
Dude,
if somebody from Virginia was able to make it, that had a farm and sold chickens and eggs, if he could do it, like there's no excuse for you guys to do it, to not do it. So it's an honor to have you on the podcast. Shout out to Brendan Boyd too for connecting us. This is what we do. We network. He is the plug. So now that we got to know Joe and we got to know his story and what he does and how he could help everyone listening, I hope that you guys got knowledge from this episode and you guys reach out to Joe, and I hope that we're able to help you in your journey as well, and then we all help each other, because this is what we do. We network, we meet people, and we just help each other grow. It's really all we're about.
Love it. Love it.
So yeah, man, yo, thank you again for your time. Until next time.